Hello everyone, and welcome to another tutorial. Fedora 38 is out in the wild, and of course there are lots of great reviews out there. It's shaping up to be a fantastic release. But it reminds me of something that's been bothering me for some time. Fedora has been defaulting to the BTRFS file system since 33, back in 2020. In the meantime, many pieces were written, including on this channel, about how to roll back BTRFS system snapshots using Timeshift or Snapper. Of course, Timeshift, I believe, originated in the Ubuntu world, and Snapper is OpenSUSE's baby. They both have been working well on Fedora for many people, including me. However, this always seemed like a kludge to me, ready to break the system during a major upgrade. Even with good backups, this is aesthetically a problem, as you pretty much have to do custom BTRFS layouts in Fedora to make the tools even work. So I've been wondering, lately, if you have a bone stock all defaults Fedora installation, can you snapshot and roll back the system using only the built-in BTRFS tools? I believe I found a way, and I'd like to show it to you right after this. To begin, I've installed a completely stock Fedora 37 workstation on my KVM hypervisor. Here it is. Let's open up a terminal and fix the preferences to make it hopefully more easily legible, even on small screens. Good. Let's go ahead and make the terminal full screen. Make the font bigger. Okay. Let's look at the OS release file to show you what we're currently running, which is Fedora Workstation 37. And yeah, there's Fedora Core 37 kernel 629, compiled Thursday, March 30th. GNOME version is 43.4. So Fedora Core 37 is shell 43, and 38, I believe, is shell 44. Anyway, I also did one little configuration change here from the default install. I added the line max parallel downloads equals 10 to speed up DNF. And it helps saturate my bandwidth. Might help you as well. So we install it on a virtual machine, right? But if you install on bare hardware, you might see NVMe 0 and 1, or maybe even SDA. But we're on a VM because we're testing on a VM. Only test on the VM, really. Don't test on a production machine. That's what VMs are for, right? For learning. So let's take a look at the partition as Anaconda default, how Anaconda does it on the default for fresh installs. So this is a BIOS virtual machine. So we've got a BIOS partition and a couple of Linux partitions for boot and for root. And partition number 3 is our BTRFS file system. And that's what we'll be operating on today, right? For doing snapshots and rollbacks. So, LSBLK. So VDA3 has 2 BTRFS subvolumes, home and root, right? So we can also list it like so. It's got 2 top level 5 subvolumes, BTRFS subvolumes, home and root. And that's how Anaconda installs by default. If you go with all defaults and don't make any customizations or modifications, this is what you'll end up with. Let's become root. And let's make the directory where our snapshots will live today. It'll be in root.snapshots. and in curly braces, we have two snapshot locations because we want to snapshot root and home for completeness. We won't be using the home snapshots in this video. I just put them in here because I recommend that's what you do as well. Snapshot and back up your home directories is probably more important than even the system directories. Let's create our first snapshot because we just installed the system, right? Like so. So this is a read-write snapshot. We'll call the root snapshot pre-update. We'll do the same thing for home. Home pre-update. Because we want to do this before we operate on a system, such as updates. So we take a snapshot before pre any operation. So BTRFS subvolume list. Root shows us our new subvolumes. The top level is 257 for each of these because they are children of ID 257, which is the BTRFS roots subvolume, which is top level 5, right? ID 5 is the top of the tree, which Fedora boots from by default. And we'll be leveraging this fact in the future. Anyway, let's do the update now that we have the snapshots done. So we do dnf-y update. We let the system update. Good practice, always snapshot your system before you do any major operation. So it pulls in 173 packages for the update, including a new kernel. So once we've updated, we just do a simple reboot. Let's see what we have. It's about to come up. Okay, Stephen. And my password. Cool, looks like the update was successful. Well, let's do a little closer inspection, shall we? So in the terminal here, let's do a uname-a. So yeah, we've been upgraded to 6.2.12, compiled Thursday, April 20th. Okay, so we picked up a new kernel, very nice. It's a pretty big update, right? We jumped over several kernel revisions. Sub-revisions. Let's become root. And let me check my notes here. Okay. Oh, I want to remind you guys that when you take a snapshot, so if you go into the snapshot directory and go to the pre-update snapshot into the .snapshots root, so you can see it's empty. So when you take BTRFS snapshots, it's not recursive. It does not take a snapshot of a snapshot, which is good because otherwise it would be crazy and it would break the system. So yeah, just a little reminder. Yeah, they're saying the BTRFS developers they won't recursively snapshot. So are you ready for an upgrade? Well, before we do that, let's do another snapshot. Pre-upgrade, right? We want to upgrade to Fedora Core 38. So we snapshot the system, both root and home, before we do that. So there's the root snapshot, pre-upgrade. And here is the home snapshot, pre-upgrade. Again, we're not using the home snapshots in this video to keep things simple, but you're more than welcome to experiment. All right, so we have pre-update and pre-upgrade snapshots, okay? And they're all children of ID 257, which is the root top level 5 subvolume. So it looks like we're ready. We're ready to begin becoming ready for the system upgrade. But first thing we need to do is we need to make sure our DNF repos, everything, our databases are ready for the upgrade. So we refresh them. Looks like they already are. Nothing to do, so it's complete. So now we perform the upgrade by downloading the packages first. So we do a DNF system upgrade, download, -- release version equals 38. Don't use GNOME software, folks. It's not as reliable. You could do it, but it's not as reliable. When you're ready to upgrade, definitely do this using this shell. So we did the DNF refresh upgrade already, so we're ready to continue by typing Y and hit enter or return. And, yeah, we'll go ahead and select the transactions are successful, so we can download the packages. 1,883 packages to download. So it's good to be patient here. Type yes to import the GPG key, and we're done. Heavy video editing here, so this is going to take a while if you did this in real life. All right, so we're ready to DNF system upgrade reboot. And this is what I like about Fedora, is especially the GNOME desktop environment, is by default it installs, it upgrades system before it boots completely, so that the files and the file systems are not in use when it does. It makes it more reliable. Again, you're in charge when this happens, not like Windows, which forces you to reboot or to restart and update. This is Linux. You're in charge. Okay, looks like, based on the wallpaper at least, that we're in successfully upgraded to Fedora Core 38. So let's verify this by checking the OS release file. Yep, indeed, we are version 38, Workstation Edition. Cool. uname-a, we're on the same kernel, 6.2.12, but we're now the Fedora Core 38 version, also compiled on Thursday, April 20th, 2023. GNOME Shell version shows we're now on, instead of 43 dot something, we're on GNOME Shell 44. 44.1 has not been released yet for Fedora at the time of this video. Looking forward to that one though. So max parallel downloads, so my configuration has carried over as expected. This is good. So if everything is good and you like to stick with Fedora Core 38, you're pretty much done, but I recommend creating another set of snapshots for best practice for both root and home. So let's become root. Let's do a BTRFS subvolume snapshot of root, and I'll put this in the root snapshots directory, and we'll call it post upgrade snapshot. You can put dates in there or other codes if you need. Also, same thing for home for completeness. Again, we're ignoring the home snapshots in this video. BTRFS subvolume list shows. Now we've got another pair of snapshots, also children of ID 257, which is the top level path root BTRFS subvolume. Cool, so we're ready to do some shenanigans with BTRFS. If it's not good, well, what do? If you don't like Fedora Core 38, for example, it's too early, they need some more patches, whatever you want to do. Normally what they recommend, but I don't recommend, is to do a DNF system upgrade download, and then the release version will be the previous release. In our case, we're on 38, so we go to 37. So this will downgrade your system. In my opinion, based on my experience, it's not a very clean way to downgrade, and also takes a long time because you have to re-download all the packages. So we're in BTRFS, where we have a snapshot, we can roll back for more efficiency. Let's do that now. So we still have our live ISO mounted here, and option number 2, which is the Fedora Core 37. workstation live ISO. You can use an Arch ISO if you want, or Fedora Core 38 ISO, whatever you like. Many different BTRFS compatible ISOs are out there. So let's let it finish booting. And there it is. There's our Fedora Core 37 live ISO. Let's open up the terminal here and fix the preferences quickly. People tell me they can see better with a white background and black text, so I'll do that this way this time. Okay, let me know in the comment section below if you prefer this over the dark theme. Right, LSBLK. So there's dev VDA. Again, you may have NVMe or SDA. All right, so VDA3 is our BTRFS partition where we work our magic. So let's become root. Root has no password in the live ISO for Fedora. Let's mount dev VDA as type BTRFS. The option will be, and this is critical, don't forget this, subvol ID equals 5 because Fedora Core boots by default from subvol ID 5. It's the default BTRFS top level subvolume. Okay, we'll mount this on /mnt or /mount. Let's change directory into it. Let's do an ls. So here are our two current subvolumes, home and root, as are the defaults in Fedora Core workstation. Default Anaconda install. So let's move root to root-38 because we want to say, hey, this is our Fedora Core 38 root subvolume. And then let's grab our snapshots from the pre-upgrade, right? So mount root38 dot snapshots root pre-upgrade because we moved root into root38, right? So that's where our snapshots are now residing. Let's make that pre-upgrade snapshot our default /mount/root subvolume. So if we do a BTRFS subvolume list for /mount, we can see that we have a new ID 260 top level 5 path root, brand new. So that Fedora should be, when we reboot, Fedora should be able to boot from this. But of course, our children from ID 257, which is the old subvolume, root 38, those are all our old snapshots. So they're still here. And we'll clean up a lot of this stuff later in this video. Let's do a BTRFS subvolume get default /mount. As you can see, like I just mentioned, ID 5 is the top of the file system tree for BTRFS, and that's the default for booting in Fedora, which makes sense, right? That's what you want. All right, looks like we're ready to reboot with fingers crossed. Here we go. Okay, this top level, entry here, Fedora Core 38, I will clean this up later. So stand by. We're going to boot from Fedora Core 37 kernel. Because Fedora Core 38, the kernel is broken here because we rolled back with a snapshot. We'll fix everything. Okay, it's like we're logging in here. And we are back to Fedora Core 37. Look how fast that was. Even with me doing all the talking, right? Much faster than doing downloading thousands of packages and maybe something goes wrong, right? So for me, this is a lot better to downgrade. So you can see OS release shows that we're back to Fedora Core 37 Workstation Edition as expected. And we're running the Fedora Core 37 kernel, the latest one, because it's post-update, pre-upgrade, right? And GNOME shell version should be back to a version 43.4, not 44 with FC38. Okay, cool. And of course, my configuration change carried over. That's my canary in the coal mine, so to speak. Make sure my configurations remain throughout these operations that we're doing today. So let's go ahead and break the system by doing something risky, or just test our disaster recovery. How can we use this BTRFS snapshot mechanism to recover from a complete disaster? So we experimented with something and it went terribly wrong. It destroyed our configuration. So BTRFS subvolume, snapshot, root, right? Before we do anything, we take a snapshot. So we'll call this root snapshot root/pre-broken. Before we break something, before we do something risky. Do the same thing for home for completeness. All right. So let's do a BTRFS subvolume list. There we go. We've got another pair of children for ID 260, which is the top level 5 path root. They're both called for both root and home, called pre-broken, so we can identify them. So let's do the deed here. What I'd like to do here is use for the file system table as an example. It's critical for system booting. It tells the system where all our partitions are via the UUID. This all can be recreated, but it's a royal pain in the rear end, and it's a good simulation for breaking the system, right? All right. So, cool. Let's break the system. Don't do this in production, obviously. This will really break your system, and you have to spend a lot of time fixing it, right? So let's remove the file system table. As you can see, the file system table is gone, which means if we turn the system off and then back on again, you can see it'll just hang with the spinner here. Got a nice Fedora boot screen, splash screen, but yeah, it'll just hang with the black screen because it doesn't know, it doesn't have a clue on what to do. We turn the system off again and turn it back on again. Yeah. So even if I boot from Fedora Core 38, yeah, it's broken. So even the backup grub entry doesn't work. Okay, so I'm going to fix this by booting into our live ISO F37 work x86_64. And do it here. Standing by for the live system to come back up. So hopefully we can fix this. I think we can. Let's fix everything. The rollback to Fedora Core 37 worked, so rollback to a fixed pre-broken system should work as well. Let's fix this preferences for the terminal. Make the font a little bit bigger. And do an LSBLK. There's our BTRFS file system that we need to operate on the installed system that we need to repair with a missing file system table. etc FS tab. So let's mount it again as before with as type BTRFS with the option supercritical subvol ID equals 5 because that's the file system tree top /dev /fda3 vda3 rather on /mount. Let's cd into /mnt. So we still have the root 38 there, but we have the broken root here. So let's move root to root -broken because it's missing the file system table that we need to restore using snapshot. We can restore individual files. I won't show that here. It's very simple. It's pretty trivial to do. Same concept. So I'd like to take the pre-broken snapshot that I've highlighted in our subvolume list. So what I want to do is move /mount mnt / and then this snapshot subvolume, the pre-broken one for root. As you can see, we'll make this a new root by moving it to /mnt /root. So that's our pre-broken root. So technically, that's all we need to do. So you can see, if I do another subvolume list for /mnt, we've got a new subvolume, ID 264, top level 5. So theoretically, Fedora core, as before, should have no problem booting from this pre-broken snapshot, root snapshot. But let's check and see if the file system table has been restored with going into mount root etc FS tab. And there it is. Our file system table is back. All right, so I have moderate confidence that this will work. I'll reboot. Let's see what happens. Okay, I'll fix the Fedora Core 38 grub entry here in a bit. Let's boot Fedora Core 37, hopefully freshly repaired. Oh, and there it is. GDM is up and running. Looks like the system lives again. Let me log in. All right. There we go. I think everything is good. Let me show you something here. You definitely want to look into automating backups and snapshots. I found a fantastic tool that I use. It is really excellent Perl utility, Perl-based utility rather. Let me check my notes here. I want github.com/digint or digint /BTRBK or Butterback. Very handy utility that's available in the default repos for Fedora and many other Linux distributions. So it's a tool for creating snapshots and remote backups of BTRFS subvolumes, including incremental backups, etc., etc. It's got 40 contributors. It's actively maintained and updated. It's 86.7% Perl. So backup tool, snapshot tool, automatic snapshots, atomic snapshots, incremental backups, policies, multiple destinations, including local disks and cloud, on-site, off-site, secure shell transfer, transaction logs. It goes, you can do a cron job for it, so you can time these. Goes through how to install it, and how to configure it. Very, very good BTRFS backup and snapshot tool that you can use instead of Snapper or Timeshift, right? Because we got a default install. Okay, so again, this is available in the default repositories. So you can just do a DNF install Butterback. And there it is. And last I checked, I think 32.5 is the most recent version of Butterback. So you've got a fresh installation there. So use it. Use it to do some real backups. Very handy. So let's clean up. Fedora uses the bootloader specification. So, as promised, let's clean up the grub bootloader entry. So we do an ls here. You can see all the entries. So you want to remove this straggler Fedora Core 38 entry. You can do that by just removing this file. Very simple. And that's all you have to do. Now the Fedora Core 38 on the top of the list of the grub menu entries should be gone. Let's just do a quick reboot. And no, I didn't quite catch it in time. Let me... You're supposed to hold down Shift with a BIOS system and Escape with a UEFI system to get the boot menu. There it is. Okay, it was fast enough this time. So as you can see, Fedora Core 38 is truly gone from the system. Cool. From the grub menu, rather. Because as we know, it's already gone from the system, right? Okay. Via the power and magic of BTRFS. All right, so what's next? I think we still have some cleanup to do. So let me open up the terminal. Make the font big. Let's become root. Okay, cleanup. So if you do a BTRFS subvolume list for the root subvolume, you can see we have a whole bunch of snapshots, root 38 and root broken from our previous rollbacks. So we need to get rid of those. And just make everything clean again. So we restore the system to its pristine original state. So we do, as we did with the live ISO, we do a mount of type BTRFS, option, subvol ID equals 5, all important, /dev/vda3 on /mnt. So let's just remove root 38 and root broken. We don't need those anymore. We just need home and root subvolumes for the system. Okay, now that that's done, let's check again with BTRFS subvolume list / there we go. Back to where we started, home and root. Those are the only two subvolumes we have. No snapshots available. So now, of course, you can make the next snapshot if you want, but if you don't want to get rid of all the snapshot evidence, then just remove the /.snapshots directory like I just did. Or don't do that if you want to continue the system. So let's reboot just to make sure we didn't break anything again. We haven't, but I want to show you that this is a valid method of doing clean rollbacks and disaster recoveries. Okay, there's Fedora Core 37. Workstation Edition. So let's do a sudo dnf install neofetch. There it is. Doesn't take too long. DNF is not that slow if you've got the max parallel downloads enabled, in my opinion. So neofetch. There you go. Success. You can safely upgrade to Fedora 38 and back again. I've tested everything on a Lenovo Yoga 6 laptop with UEFI and secure boot and had identical results. So my takeaway from all of this is, for future-proofing Fedora installs, I will be sticking with the defaults, as the maker intended. There you go. I hope you found this video useful. If so, smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Until next time, take care and have lots of fun.